72 children traumatized or missing after involvement with Big Red Puppet Show. When the show first aired, parents were excited to have their sons and daughters become young celebrities by having them guest star in the adventures with Big Red Show. It was billed as a children's program full of whimsical adventures guided by the puppet host, Big Red. Many parents were disappointed by the shallow budget the studio had been working with. The parents that arrived for the first episode scowled and whispered amongst themselves at the obvious rock-bottom budget. All of the backdrops were hand-painted, and the lead puppet looked like shoddy papier-mâché. Regardless, the crew prompted the audience to act as excited and genuine as possible, under the promise of improvement if the show did well. It did not go well. The show only lasted for 8 episodes before it was taken off the air due to multiple tragedies involving the child guests. The younger ones were terrified of the poorly made Big Red puppet, and others were injured by it when mistakenly hit by its flailing arms. But the event that pushed everyone over the edge happened after filming the last episode. Every young actor, the entire studio audience, the stagehands and crew, and the actors on the set disappeared. The studio executives claimed no involvement or no knowledge of the event. They even joined the search parties that amassed to look for the missing people. No trace was ever found, and the studio locked down the building permanently. 10 years passed, and the missing children still haven't been found. The few folks who left halfway through that fateful show lived with the trauma of dreading what would have happened if they'd stayed. When questioned by the authorities about why they'd left early, the parents all reported their children were terrified by Big Red's sinister smile full of sharp teeth. This puzzled everyone, especially the studio's employees, as the puppet didn't have any teeth. 20 more years went by, and the children who'd escaped the horrid fate by leaving the show early went on to live normal lives. Big Red and the story of that horrible day only visited them in their nightmares. Then, episodes of the Big Red Show began to appear on television late at night. Current studio heads claimed no involvement. They hadn't sold the rights to anyone. They even showed records that all the film had either been locked away or disposed of long ago. Broadcasting the episodes should have been impossible. Then, the disappearances started again. Children went missing from their own homes overnight, one by one or several at once. Detectives investigated, but always came up with nothing. Over time, an urban legend attributing the vanishings to the Phantom Show grew. Then, one family shared something truly horrifying. The Winston's family consisted of a married couple and 4 kids, 2 of whom were under the age of 6. Security cameras throughout the home caught disturbing footage. One night, when the kids were supposed to be asleep, they were seen heading to the living room. The television had turned itself on and began to play an episode of Adventures with Big Red. The kids settled a few feet away from the screen, seemingly enraptured by the show. After a few minutes, images of hyper-realistic, bright red faces flashed on the screen. White noise came from the television with a voice mixed in. The cameras caught the frightened children crying and clutching at each other. After the voice stopped, a horrifying scene of the 2 children being dragged through the screen by long arms played out. Once the children were gone, the television turned off. The footage appeared online, and scores of terrified parents threw away their televisions. Others brushed it all off as a hoax. Others came forward with video of their own, or even claimed to witness the disappearance of their children firsthand. Investigators worked to clean up the footage and figure out what the voice said through the white noise. It was nothing but an ascending series of numbers. With every case, every disappearance, every abduction, the number rose. Whatever was responsible, it was counting its victims. It reached 97 at the end of the last of the 8 episodes. People gave the being a variety of names: the Ghost of Big Red, the Cursed Puppet, the Signal Specter, and various others of a similar nature. The authorities eventually gained access to the locked and abandoned building where the show was originally recorded. They brought in investigators, hoping they might find some evidence there. What they found was far more gruesome than they could have imagined. The first police officer through the door wore a body camera. The recording revealed the bodies of nearly 100 missing victims, strung from the ceiling like broken marionettes. A voice like a mad clown echoed through the space. 98, 99. Something red flashed through their beams of light. In an instant, 2 of the 4 investigators were snatched up into the darkness overhead. The light of an officer's flashlight briefly illuminated a dusty patchwork cloak and gleaming teeth before he bolted for the door. 100. The last investigator screamed. A blood-curdling sound cut off with a loud crunch. The escaping officer made it outside and slammed the door closed behind him. The door blew open, crashing against the wall, and something knocked him over. He sprawled face down and his body camera cracked. The video cut off for a moment, then came back, showing a sideways view of the studio lot. A tall figure in a dirty, colorful cloak lumbered across the scene. At last, the figure spoke. It turned and knelt to show its face to the camera, revealing the mangled and blood-stained face of Big Red. Its eyes black and empty, its teeth prominent and thin like an anglerfish. It spoke again. "With your blood, I am free." The footage froze, framing the image of the entity's face before cutting off entirely. By the time backup arrived, the officer lay dead. Footprints stamped in his blood led away from his mangled corpse toward the town.